Donc, un chat à votre disposition. Et écoutez, il est 10h32, donc on y va. Je suis très heureux de vous accueillir à ce webinaire qui renoue avec une vieille tradition qu'on avait chez Natinéo de faire des webinaires il y a quelques temps pour présenter différentes solutions ou les différents événements que nous faisions. Pour ce premier événement, nous accueillons David de la société Jaunt qui est en charge des partenariats sur l'Europe. Slide suivante, s'il te plaît, François. Donc, le programme, c'est une petite introduction de ma part de 10 minutes, suivie de la présentation de Jaunt par David, qui se fera en anglais. Ensuite, quelques minutes pour présenter les prochaines étapes, puisque nous aurons le plaisir d'accueillir David à Paris la semaine prochaine pour différents événements, et une session de questions-réponses. Tout d'abord, le contexte a changé, en fait, depuis quelques années avec le développement de l'Internet. Le consommateur de superpoids, il est face à l'offre rhétorique d'offres de produits et de services, mais aussi de surcharge auquel il est capable aujourd'hui de faire un blocage, puisqu'il les refuse, et on a des taux de adblockers qui passent maintenant près de 50% sur les grands pays, dont la France. Parallèlement, il a un accès illimité, gratuit et permanent à toutes les informations qu'il souhaite, à partir de son téléphone, et non seulement des informations qui lui sont proposées par des entreprises ou la presse, mais également des avis d'autres consommateurs qui l'aident à se faire une opinion et au final à décider de ce qu'il aime et de ce qu'il a envie. Parallèlement, il est devenu lui-même un média et il peut partager son avis, partager son point de vue, partager ses sentiments positifs ou négatifs par rapport aux marques directement sur les réseaux sociaux. Au final, de façon très claire, le consommateur, aujourd'hui, pour être séduit, a besoin de vivre des expériences. Pourquoi ces expériences sont importantes pour lui? Parce qu'elles lui permettent d'avoir un usage concret des choses, un vécu personnel. Et à la différence de l'avis des autres qu'il peut consulter de façon illimitée, comme je l'ai dit à l'instant, le vécu, c'est sa propre opinion, c'est sa propre emprise avec le réel, un vrai contrôle qui lui est donné, et donc cette capacité à avoir un libre arbitre. Deuxièmement, les expériences, évidemment, créent des émotions beaucoup plus fortes que la simple consultation de la vie des autres. Et ces émotions sont beaucoup plus fortement ancrées dans la mémoire. Et elles vont générer plus que l'information, l'action. L'action qui est évidemment ce qui va permettre aux entreprises de se développer et se démarquer par rapport aux autres entreprises. Donc, l'expérience pour les entreprises aujourd'hui, si tu peux aller sur la slide suivante, c'est un moyen de se différencier et de renouer finalement la confiance avec le consommateur qui, avec l'Internet et cette pléthore d'informations à sa disposition, s'est distendu ces derniers temps. C'est ce qu'a montré plusieurs études, dont celle d'Accenture, dont je cite la référence ici, où il était indiqué que 84% des consommateurs français estiment être de moins en moins fidèles aux marques. Les entreprises doivent donc construire des expériences. Et ces expériences doivent apporter du service, de la valeur, créer une proximité, apporter de l'aide, apporter une forme de chaleur ajoutée. C'est ce qui peut renouer avec le consommateur de l'affection, du désir, l'amour de la marque, et renouer donc vers cette relation de confiance qui s'est distendue. C'est ce qu'indiquent les consommateurs au travers des études. 86% d'entre eux disent qu'ils ont confiance dans les marques qui leur procurent une expérience positive. Cette relation, il faut qu'elle soit idéalement lors non pas seulement d'un point de contact entre la marque et le consommateur, mais tout au long du parcours, dans l'acquisition, dans l'adhésion ou l'achat, et ensuite dans la fidélisation. Et bien sûr, il faut que ce parcours soit optimisé pour être online et offline. Donc c'est un chantier important, compliqué, riche, où des sociétés et des solutions technologiques sont disponibles pour quelque part créer un parcours, une orchestration de ces points de contact qui soit aussi fluide que possible. La vidéo est définitivement le format incontournable, le média incontournable pour créer de l'émotion, transmettre de l'information. La vidéo est définitivement entrée dans les mœurs, toutes les entreprises s'y sont mises, mais évidemment, les consommateurs également. Elle divertit, elle informe, permet de communiquer, de partager, d'instruire, d'éduquer. Elle attire notre regard, elle attire le regard du consommateur, bien évidemment, parce que l'image est animée et associée à du son. Et elle crée une immersion, quand la vidéo est intéressante et pertinente, émotionnelle et cognitive, dans le sens où on apprend quelque chose. Elle crée aussi une empathie, puisqu'on s'identifie avec les personnages ou avec l'histoire qu'on nous raconte dans la vidéo. La réalité virtuelle, la réalité augmentée, le 360, sont par nature même des médias expérientiels qui vont permettre de créer ces expériences de marque, au-delà de la vidéo online. Bien évidemment, ils ont les mêmes attributs, l'image animée, mais ils ont d'autres possibilités, d'autres leviers pour créer cette expérience, qui sont se déplacer. On peut se déplacer dans le contenu, on peut le manipuler, on peut communiquer dans le contenu. L'utilisateur est au centre, il est complètement immergé dans l'univers de la marque. Et c'est ainsi qu'on démultiplie les émotions et la mémorisation. La nouvelle importante, c'est que les protocoles, les technologies de la VR et de la AR aujourd'hui permettent d'accéder aux consommateurs sur 2 milliards de téléphones mobiles. Tous les smartphones progressivement vont devenir 100% compatibles. Et donc ce n'est plus nécessairement avec un casque ou avec des lunettes dédiées à la réalité augmentée pour pouvoir avoir ces expériences. Les usages sont de plus en plus nombreux, à un niveau individuel, à un niveau collectif, dans les magasins, dans les lieux publics, qui deviennent lieux d'expérience pour générer des visites. Sur les imprimés, la presse, les catalogues, le packaging, on va pouvoir augmenter dans les événements qu'on peut diffuser en live 160 et revoir en replay, ou toute forme de communication éditoriale utilisaire. Donc, ma conviction, c'est que progressivement, les médias immersifs, expérientiels vont s'implanter partout et devenir incontournables pour créer ces expériences et apporter un service aux consommateurs. Et ça, c'est possible grâce au progrès de technologie et à leur déploiement sur les téléphones mobiles. Les téléphones mobiles sont devenus extrêmement puissants, aussi puissants que les ordinateurs. Ils ont des capacités de traitement associées au cloud et la 5G qui va arriver, qui vont permettre de faire des traitements extrêmement puissants, de faire de la reconnaissance d'images, du traitement, et d'apporter une véritable valeur ajoutée à l'utilisation du téléphone mobile pour des expériences. Ensuite, si tu peux avancer, François. Ok. Rapidement, la réalité augmentée. Deux caractéristiques à la réalité augmentée. Tout d'abord, il faut reconnaître le monde, reconnaître l'environnement dans lequel nous sommes. C'est ce qu'on appelle le computer vision. Ça s'appuie sur de la réalité augmentée. Et l'idée, par exemple, c'est de pouvoir reconnaître un logo, de reconnaître une forme, de créer, avec l'augmentation, un univers, visualisation, de créer un enrichissement, de reconnaître des lieux, de reconnaître des produits, de reconnaître des images. Bref, reconnaître et augmenter. C'est un lien qui se fait entre le monde physique qui nous entoure, notre contexte, et le digital qui apporte cet enrichissement. La réalité virtuelle, deuxième nature de solution, c'est nous transporter dans un autre monde, nous faire voyager émotionnellement, virtuellement. Ces images peuvent être des images ou des vidéos 360 réelles qui sont écuits rectangulaires dans un format spécifique pour être adapté à une vision 360 ou totalement artificielle. C'est ce qu'on appelle la réalité virtuelle au travers du casque ou au travers du téléphone mobile. Et ce qui est amusant, c'est que vous connaissez sans doute pas cet homme qui s'appelle Jaron Lanier, qui est né en 1950 et à 17 ans, c'est un informaticien, créé et inventé la terminologie réalité virtuelle et a développé les premiers services. Des années plus tard, quand il a c'est visiblement inspiré de Jaron. Tu vas trop vite, François. C'est visiblement inspiré de Jaron pour nous montrer un monde virtuel au travers de ce film Avatar où le héros était dans une forme de coma pour être dans ce monde virtuel face aux méchants qui venaient l'envahir. Le monde virtuel nous permet vraiment de voyager avec un casque évidemment pour créer une immersion forte, mais aussi une vulnérabilité, une expérience très forte, mais bien sûr avec ce téléphone. un livre qui est sorti déjà en France, qui s'appelle Ready Player One, va nous emmener dans ces mondes virtuels. C'est un film qui va être produit, qui a été fait par Steven Spielberg, si tu veux bien avancer. Je vous encourage à le lire, et on y parle de le monde en 2045, pardon, avec complètement pollué, très proche de finalement ce que Harari a raconté dans Homo Deus, son dernier bouquin, où pour fuir la réalité triste et morne dans le film, les gens vont dans un monde virtuel. S'il nous reste une minute, on aura un petit extrait. Les usages de la VR sont très nombreux, bien sûr dans le jeu vidéo, mais aussi pour accéder à des contenus de divertissement, comme des films, des concerts, les événements, les informations, le monde de l'éducation, le voyage, et puis tout ce qui est hors du foyer, les attractions, donc les salles d'arcade par exemple. Il me reste plus beaucoup de temps, donc je vous incite à regarder les slides. Merci d'avancer, et je vais passer la parole à David, qui va nous présenter donc Jaunt, sa vision et les solutions proposées par l'entreprise. Jaunt, donc presented by David. David,
oui.
It's your turn.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to talk to you now for about 20 minutes with regards to the Jaunt XR distribution platform in particular. But first, I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into Jaunt as an organization, and a little bit about our strategy. Next slide, please. Jaunt is the global partner of choice for producing and distributing immersive content. There are 4 important parts to that. We are absolutely global. We already have 3 offices in the United States, where we're headquartered in San Mateo in the Valley. But we also have a joint venture in China with Shanghai Media Group, and a license to produce and distribute content there, the only one from a Western company. So if your business wishes to distribute virtual reality and augmented reality in China, then Jaunt is the only Western company that you can do that with. Producing and distributing is important. Producing means that we make immersive content, and I'll come on to describe that in a little bit more detail in our studio section. And we also distribute. So we have the premier platform for distributing all forms of XR content globally, and that has been regionalized already for 28 languages, which obviously span more countries than that across the globe. We also have a business office in London, which is where I come from, and it's my responsibility to look after the French market as well as the rest of Europe. When we start thinking about immersive content, we talk about the XR spectrum, and that's because at a fairly fundamental level, distributing assets for augmented reality, 360 video, interactive VR, including 6DoF, and location-based experiences are broadly the same thing. So it really depends on how much of actual reality you see during the experience. So during an augmented reality experience, obviously we're overlaying digital assets onto the real world. Whereas when we start going into 360 video, we're looking at a virtual world, but we also have the surroundings of the actual world, but it's overlaid, and we're looking through effectively a window into that virtual environment. As soon as we move into cinematic VR, we are fully encased in the virtual world, and there is no remnant left of the real world. And as we move further towards the right on this spectrum, we can do more things, and the experience becomes more immersive and more real to us. So stereoscopic cinematic VR is Jaunt's kind of heartland. It's where we began. It's what we're most known for. But now we produce content across all of these spectrums, or all of the spectrum, I should say, including interactive VR in the 6DoF environment, with our release of Free the Night, which was the launch title for Microsoft Windows Mixed Reality. It's a full CGI experience, and you can move around inside it. It's very moving. It's designed specifically for women and children, although it's exciting and interesting for for males. It is not a kind of zombie shoot 'em up. If you flip on to the next one, please, Francois. Thank you. So a couple of things to kind of call out. We do have the world's leading XR content studio. That rather lovely statue on the right-hand side there is actually an Emmy. We're lucky to have been nominated 3 times now and won once. We are also a truly global VR company, as I've talked about before. And we have the definitive stack for management and distribution of that immersive content, which I will deep dive on in a few minutes. I'm going to go on to talk about the management and investment team. So if you flip on to the next one for me, please, Francois. This is the management team. Don't worry, I'm not going to give everybody's CV in great detail, but it is worth calling out George as our chief executive. He has a history of creating digital distribution platforms, most notably Hulu, which I'm sure you've all heard of. He was the first executive at NBC Universal that set up Hulu, and was the first chief executive before they brought in an outside party to run that business. He's also the chief digital officer at MLB Advanced Media. If you haven't heard of that, it's probably one of those big companies you've never heard of, but they supply all of the backbone and streaming to pretty much everything in the way of streaming media in the United States market, with the exception of Netflix, who built their own. And there's a story that I will come back to about Major League Baseball, because there are significant parallels between what George did at Major League Baseball Advanced Media and what we're doing at Jaunt. The last person I would call out in here, or two very quickly, Arthur Van Hoff, our CTO and founder. He's got 7 exits in the Valley already, and he was one of 4 people in a room in the 90s at Sun Microsystems, and they invented the language Java. So he's a very smart guy, and he's the guy who has been driving the technical roadmap for us for the last 5 years. The last quick mention I would make is Dominic Collins, who is my boss, and he runs Jaunt outside of America. And quickly, Fabrice Cantot, who was working at Dailymotion. I'm sure you guys are all very familiar with that business, and he was the CFO there and sold that business twice, in fact. The next slide very quickly just talks about some of our investors. We have all of the classic Silicon Valley venture capital partners from Redpoint, Highland and Google, but we were then also extremely strategic about who we took further investment from. And as you can see, they're all media companies. Primary investor is Disney and China Media Capital. Evolution Media is a talent agency. Shanghai Media Group allowed us to get our access to the China market. Sky, ProSiebenSat and Axel Springer are obviously European media companies, which is how we kind of see ourselves. And we're very fortunate that if you look across all of those investors, we have basically the heads of their organizations as our investors, and they sit on our board of directors. You may notice that Kevin Mayer is in the process of buying Fox. He actually is an active partner on our board as well, as is Lee Ray Gung. And when you say that in the 2 different respective markets, people simply don't believe you. I'm going to flip on to the next slide, please, and talk very briefly now about our priorities. I'm really only going to talk about 3 of these today. I've already mentioned the global footprint, so I'm not going to go into much more detail on that, but international growth is an important part of our strategy going forward. What I am going to do, I've talked very briefly already about Jaunt Studios, and I'll follow up with some more comments on that later. What I'm predominantly going to talk about is the Jaunt XR platform. If you could flip on to the next slide, please, Francois. Next one again, please. So the most important thing to note here is that we are building, as I say, a turnkey solution really for the enablement and management of the distribution of immersive content across platforms, operating systems and devices. So the platform already supports distribution to social, to web browsers, to native iOS and Android apps, to all forms of mobile virtual reality and all console games that have, platforms that have any scale. The predominant target audience, sorry if you would go back up one, Roswell. The predominant targets for this are major media companies, mobile carriers, tier 1 mobile carriers. Orange, Deutsche Telekom are already clients of ours. Sports leagues, so anybody who owns a lot of intellectual property, sports leagues and brands, talent such as Sir Paul McCartney, who's also an investor, and that this is a very simple system. You're not bolting anything together. It's a fully end-to-end system that allows you to very rapidly deploy either VR apps or channels inside of existing apps. If you would skip on to the next one now, please. Francois, thank you. There are many challenges associated with distributing XR content today. And we believe that our solution solves the vast majority of those problems in a very simple to use format. Hello, I've got background noise. So the challenges that we face are that there are many platforms involved. There are very few standards involved, a huge number of technology challenges in place, and that the platforms are highly fragmented. All of those systems are largely incompatible. So what we've done is we have taken the many tens of millions of investment dollars that we've had to date, and we raised roughly 100 million to the end of 2015. And what we had done is we had invested all of that money into producing a platform that would enable Jaunt to be the destination of choice for consumers to consume VR. What we realized when George joined was that actually being a destination of choice was a challenge, because it was probably likely that at some point Netflix and Hulu and the other major streaming services would also want to be that destination of choice, and they already have hundreds of millions of subscribers. So how would Jaunt compete? Well, instead, as George did at Major League Baseball Advanced Media, who built out a very robust media streaming service for Major League Baseball that was radically underused, because the audience for Major League Baseball, particularly outside of the United States, is pretty small, and the games only happened once or twice a week. Instead, they then productized that technology stack and sold it to everybody else. And the success of that strategy is that Disney's new streaming service is going to be built upon it. And as a result, Disney bought that business for just over $3 billion US. So we pivoted at Jaunt about 18 months ago to do largely the same, follow the same path. So all of that investment that we put in, arguably an overinvestment in becoming the definitive standard for customer experience and distribution quality, we've now productized and made available for other people to use under their own brand as a white label. The platform constitutes three significant parts. It has a media manager, which is what I like to refer to as the back office system. It also has a player engine, which is a software development kit, or an SDK, which is what you build your front-end applications on. And it has an intelligence suite, which allows you to measure and analyze engagement across metrics that are common to online video, but also unique to XR content. I'm going to do a little bit of a deep dive on each one now. Move on, please, Francois. So I'm going to talk about Media Manager first. It is a cutting-edge CMS. That's the best way to think about it, but it is purpose-built for XR content. So you can do all of the normal things that you would expect to be able to do in a content management system. You can set administrative roles and permissions. Who can log into it and what can they do? Which parts of the workflow can they operate? Can they publish to the apps, or can they just upload content? And obviously security is built in from the ground up. But importantly, it's critical to say that the workflow is simple. So what happens today is that if you wanted to publish a piece of content, you would have to build an application for every store and transcode the content very specifically for each of those platforms. That is an enormous challenge. And Hugo Farrer, who runs immersive content at Facebook, said that it is 10 times harder to build a player for virtual reality, a video player for virtual reality, than it is to build one for a 16:9 platform over the web. 10 times harder. And then, of course, we have all of the complexities associated with interactivity, which I'll come on to later. But rest assured that this, because it is an XR platform from the ground up, is fundamentally and purpose-built, designed to be extensible such that all XR assets can be leveraged, whatever you conceive in the way of a customer experience. So when you upload a piece of content, the system automatically transcodes that master file to 30+ different formats, which is specifically optimized for the various platforms that are out there, be that a Samsung Gear or an Android Cardboard or a Gear VR or a Oculus or and a Vive. So all of those are very specific, and that is vitally important because that is the benchmark of your customer experience. There is no such thing as a one-size-fits-all transcode option. There's no magic bullet MP4 manifest or encode structure that works brilliantly across all of those platforms. It simply doesn't exist, and it never will. That is why Jaunt has gone to the trouble of transcoding these things very specifically for the platforms to ensure that the geometry and the color space and the bit rates, etc., are all optimized for the best possible customer experience. In addition, we've gone one step further, and we, instead of using a standard bitrate ladder, which is, how much bitrate do you push down for any available bandwidth, and we no longer use what's called monolithic transcodes. Instead, every piece of content is transcoded on an adaptive bitrate on a frame-by-frame basis, or a content adaptive bitrate. And that means, again, that we can compress some parts of any content a lot more than others, and that allows us to deliver a far superior customer experience to the consumer than it would be if you used either a monolithic file or a standard adaptive bitrate. There aren't very many people doing this, and those that are tend to be the Netflix of the world, for, again, distributing 16:9 content through their platforms and channels. There is a link to our blog at the end of this presentation, and you can read an awful lot more detail about how we do that in that blog post. But for now, I'll leave that as is. We will be supporting AR-specific assets. That will be coming in Q3 of this year. But it's important to note that when you upload a piece of content in here, we can stream that content and all of those assets down to our player SDK, which I'll come on to in a sec. It's important, however, again, as part of our global aspirations, to ensure that both our back-end functions and our front-end functions are optimized for every market on Earth, and therefore are multi-language appropriate. So inside of the Media Manager, you can upload geographically specific assets. And an example of that would be if you have one video file but 6 audio files, i.e. dubbed from English into French and German and Spanish, etc., then you can upload those, and the player will automatically understand, based on your handset settings or the device settings, exactly which audio file to deliver to ensure, again, the best possible customer experience. So it will automatically work out that you're in France, play the video file, and play the French language audio file at the same time. If there is no French language audio file, then it will look for subtitles. And again, you can upload text files, and it will pick out the correct subtitle version based on your handset. So, for example, again, it would play the correct audio. It would play the English audio file in that instance, but it would put French language subtitles on it if they're switched on by the consumer. If neither of those are available, obviously you will just get the vanilla experience. But it's also important to note that this back-end system is also available in 28 languages. So you can have all of the buttons and switches in the publishing system in French or in English or in Spanish or in 28 other languages, including Chinese and Japanese and Korean and various other ones. That means, of course, that you don't have to retrain your staff in order to be able to operate the system, which is a critical element of being able to operationalize this platform and go to market quickly. you would flip on to the next one, please, Francois. Thank you. So the player engine is the code that drives the experience inside of your app. So you can think about this as a software development kit, although there are also templated apps that sit on top of that are part of the platform itself. And what this does is work seamlessly with the back-end system. So you can publish in the software as a service, web-based browser interface that is Media Manager, and instantaneously deliver publishing updates into a live application that might be sitting on one of 10 platforms or all 10 platforms, and therefore as an install base in millions of users, irrespective of their platform of choice. It's important to note that that the player engine is effectively the beating heart of your application as deployed into those app stores, but you can fully customize the experience that sits on top of that. It can obviously carry your logos and your design interface, and those can be very simple or very complex, however you choose to build it. If you choose to build in native applications, you're more constrained by those platform technologies. But if you build in native applications, the things that you can build are only limited by your imagination. Additionally, it then no longer matters to the Media Manager because you can input very specific extensible assets that you define in both the player engine so that it understands them and serves those assets from the Media Manager. This is an entirely extensible system, although it works incredibly well straight out of the box. In fact, we are our first best customer. So Jaunt runs its applications via this system. That is really important because it means that we find all of the bugs before you do, and it also means that you can be confident that when we release a product that we will be happy to have it ourselves. There are some important things in here to also pull out. Again, the player engine will be capable of handling AR assets in Q3 of this year, but it already handles all of the spatial audio formats, including Dolby Atmos, all of the ambisonics, Facebook 360 audio, etc., etc. If you only have mono and stereo files, that's fine. It lessens the immersion, but we can handle that too. Indeed, even if you choose not to use our specific transcodes for each of the platform, it's also capable of handling standard MPEG dash formats and many others. It's also true that you can live stream through this system. That is supported today, and in about 2 months' time, we'll be handling our first interactive formats for camera switching during live playback, for hotspots, delivery of hotspot experiences so that the user can choose where they're going, and for what we call branched narratives. So do I want to turn through the left door or the right door? And that gives incredible power to the storytelling, but means that you don't have to redevelop or redeploy your apps every single time you want to make an interactive experience. The next slide, please. So then the third and final part of the platform is the intelligence suite. The player engine produces a huge quantity of data. And that data is things that you would normally expect to be there, such as, you know, how many times was something played, but it also enables very XR-specific data to be collected. Where are people looking inside of the 3D sphere? How long are they looking there for? What part of the image do they find most interesting? We calculate and collect all of that data and aggregate it into what you can see on the screen now, which is hotspots of where the average or the highest proportion of people are looking during any given frame. And we collect that data every 10th of a second. That's incredibly powerful for brand advertisers, because what it says is that we can amend our creative to ensure that the person seeing the car or is seeing the car and for how long and in which scenes, and are they looking at the logo or are they checking out kind of the curve of the bonnet, or are they simply looking at the people, because that's the most interesting part. And perhaps what we need to do in the creative journey is put the people behind the car so that people notice the car as well as the people. There's an enormous amount of diagnostics collected as well, so which we use to ensure that the maximum customer experience is delivered through every release of the platform. And that data is vital. It's also anonymized. You have access to all of it. We have access to it where it's applicable for us to be continuing to build out the world-leading platform that is the Jaunt XR suite. So we're going to flip on to the next one, please. I'm very pleased to say that we've already sold this platform. It's in active use today. Sky VR, the major media company, are already using this. They're delighted with this platform, and they will be releasing their new applications, Sky VR apps, very, very soon based on this. We announced this partnership at CES a matter of only 4 or so weeks ago, and we're very much delighted to have them on board, and plenty more like them in the pipeline and announcements coming soon. I'll go on to the next slide, please, and talk quickly about 2 other client examples that are actively using this today. And the reason that we pull these ones out is to show you that the use cases for the platform are extremely broad. So Medical Realities is actually the leading global surgical training company using immersive technology. They are releasing their, well, they did release their new version of their proposition in December, and it was powered by the XR platform. This allows you, for example, to do picture-in-picture inside of 360 degrees. It allows you to put hotspots into the experience, and it's very well worth downloading their application if you're not too squeamish about surgery to see what the platform is capable of delivering in the way of an experience. I'm also delighted to be able to talk about VTime. VTime is a very popular social VR platform where users build their own avatars and they meet with friends and chat. VTime has used the XR platform to create a Jaunt cinema where people can co-watch 360 video. It's an incredible experience. That is a very bad picture right there of Sir Paul McCartney playing Live and Let Die at Candlestick Park in California. And watching that particular show is amazing. It's even more amazing doing that with your friends as though you were watching it live and being in the audience. Not only that, of course, but you also get the best seat in the house. You can talk to and interact with your friends that are there as avatars at the same time, and all of that is powered by a combination of the VTime platform and the XR platform from Jaunt to enable high quality playback. So as you can see, this is not just about delivering 360 video. This is very much about delivering immersive VR and AR experiences in many different contexts. I'll skip on to the next one, please. I'll take questions at the end, probably is the easiest way to do it. So that's the XR platform. I'm now just going to talk very briefly about Jaunt Studios, which is not the distribution side of our business, but the production side of our business. And if you skip on to the next one for me, please, Francois. I would like to kind of mention 3 areas in particular. We've made well over 300 productions to date. That makes us, without doubt, probably 3 or 4 times bigger than any other XR production studio on earth. We've made all the mistakes that there are to make. We have an incredibly high creative benchmark, and we're very pleased as a result to say that we've worked with all of the iconic partners kind of that are out there. Clearly, all of the platform players, when Apple launched Final Cut Pro in the autumn, you may have noticed that it now supports 360 content. That content was shot by Jaunt in 8K and delivered into Apple with their very high exacting standards, and that content is actually now delivered as trial footage when you buy Final Cut Pro. Likewise, we've worked for 20th Century Fox, we've worked for Paramount and Disney, all of the major studios. We're working with many sports leagues. These happen to be the NFL and the NBA, but we're also working with the Premiership and in the UK and many of the sports brands across Europe, including Paris Saint-Germain and Marseille. We also work with a colossal number of brands, and as a result of working with those iconic partners and their extremely high standards, we're delighted to be able to have been acknowledged for that creative expertise And as I say, we've won an Emmy, but we've also won a number of awards from Sundance and Lumiere and Tribeca and lots of other places. If you skip down to the next one, please. I'll just talk very quickly about the type of work the studio does. We have a studio based in Santa Monica in LA, and we have another one based in London, but we operate literally all over the globe. Our production teams and our hardware technology has been present in Antarctica and in the Arctic and in the rainforest, and all over in deserts and all over the globe. We co-produce with intellectual property holders, as I've talked about, mainly sports studios, entertainment studios, and talent. We make a lot of branded content. The North Face is a very famous piece that I'm sure a lot of you have seen. We work with Lexus and Royal Caribbean and Citi and Gucci and Unilever and American Express and many, many, many others to tell brand stories in a compelling and immersive way. And our originals, we're most famous probably for 3 of them. Collisions is the piece that won the Emmy. It was a piece shot in the outback of Australia about when the nuclear weapons were being tested and its impact on the communities there. We were fortunate enough to work with Doug Liman, who's the Hollywood A-lister director who was responsible for the Bourne Identity series and The Day After Tomorrow and Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And it was actually written by Melissa Wallach, who was Oscar nominated for some of the work that she did for Dallas Buyers Club on a series called Invisible. So really high quality talent attached to intellectual property that Jaunt owns. And as I mentioned earlier, the latest one is Free the Night, which is a groundbreaking 6 Degrees of Freedom experience, which is directed by Nicole MacDonald, which Windows commissioned in order to support the launch of the Windows mixed reality devices. You flip on to the next one, please. We also run a content licensing business. Kind of why is this important? This is important to you because if you want to stand up a new consumer proposition, then you need content to put in it. It's still relatively expensive to make a very high quality content. So although it is likely that you would want to create content if you were going to original content, if you were going to start a proposition of that sort, it's highly likely that also that you would want to license some content so that you had more volume. Jaunt has spent significant time and effort going around looking at the best content in the market, aggregating that so that you can have a one-stop shop in terms of buying licensable content across all of the genres. And again, I'm very pleased to say that Sky and Orange and Deutsche Telekom and Hulu, etc., have all taken advantage of that particular service. I'll skip on to the next one, please. So as a wrap up, I would just like to again say Jaunt has 4 major business priorities. The distribution platform, which I spent some significant time talking about, but obviously we'll be offering demos of that to anybody who is sufficiently interested. We have a world and globally leading Jaunt Studios based out of Santa Monica and London, producing amazing content. We have an advanced R&D pillar, which is looking into what I would call version 2 augmented reality. How can you produce what we have done for VR in the AR space? So this isn't about putting sofas in your sitting room. This is about how we produce genuinely groundbreaking, over the horizon new technology that will produce amazing products and services in both entertainment and many other forms inside of augmented reality. I'm not going to go any further on that today. And then obviously that we are a global player, and I have one last slide on that, which is just to say and repeat what we have done to date, which is we've built an international focus. We are simply the only global VR company out there of this kind of scale. We have a physical presence in 3 different markets and virtual presence in a number of others, including in France, through our partners at Ingenio. And we are fundamentally committed to globalizing our product as well as our content. It's already there in 28 languages, and will continue to be expanding on that as time goes by. And that is it. And I'd like to hand back over to Philippe at that point. Thank you very much.
My mic. Okay, thank you very much, David. It was very useful and very interesting. So, next slide. Maybe I'm gonna take my deck. François, tu peux présenter? Oops. Partager. So, donc on va passer à prochaines étapes. Je repasse en français, c'est toujours un peu difficile quand on passe de l'anglais au français, de français en anglais. N'hésitez pas à poser vos questions dans le chat. On va les traiter avec David. David, do you have a question regarding do we support arcade rooms at Jaunt? De mon côté, les prochains rendez-vous sont les suivants. Donc, nous serons la semaine prochaine à Virtuality avec David, mais comme il l'indiquait tout à l'heure, vous pouvez aller sur le blog de Jaunt pour trouver tout un tas de documentation, de livres blancs sur les solutions et l'analyse du marché que fait l'entreprise. Je vous indiquais que donc Virtuality, on aura un stand Netineo où sera présent David avec Jason. David s'occupera de la partie plateforme, Jason s'occupera de la partie licensing de contenu et partenariat. Donc n'hésitez pas pour Virtuality, ils seront là le jeudi et le vendredi. Je serai personnellement présent avec un stand des conférenciers sur deux sujets, l'expérience du nouveau Graal des marques et des consommateurs le 13, puis le lendemain, le 14 février, sur les tendances de la vidéo avec une table ronde que j'animerai au salon All for Content qui ouvre ses portes pour la première fois. Ce sera à Birakeim, à côté dans le 15e arrondissement, pendant 2 jours. Donc un salon intéressant avec beaucoup d'exposants sur comment aider les marques à avoir et trouver des solutions pour produire, publier, monétiser du contenu. Jaunt sera présent au Mobile World Congress, qui se déroule chaque année à Barcelone depuis une dizaine d'années. Ça sera du 26 au 1er mars. Donc là encore, une opportunité de pouvoir rencontrer l'entreprise et voir ses solutions et voir comment travailler avec elle. Enfin, Netineo, à nouveau, comme vous le savez, on organise en ce moment les trophées de la marque, de la Brand Experience Awards. Et à cette occasion, on va éditer un livre blanc sur ce sujet qui reprendra et développera beaucoup d'éléments que j'ai présentés en introduction. Pardon. Voilà, donc petite session de questions-réponses. On est un petit peu en retard sur notre horaire. David?
Oui.
Okay, so we have a question about any distribution in VR arcade rooms at Jaunt. Are you targeting this kind of distribution and how?
Arcade, as in location-based theatres?
Yes.
Is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah, so the platform can support that for sure. It's very much a case of what content you want to put through. So, and how you build your applications. So if you build an application to enable distribution into headsets, then yes, the platform would support that. If on the other hand, literally today, you have the most complex game type experiences inside of your arcade. So for example, if you were selling 15 minutes of time on Echo Arena, for example, then it would not really be suitable today for that purpose. You still have to build your applications in order to support the use case that you want. What the SDK and the Media Manager do is give you control about what content sits inside of the applications you choose to build.
Okay. Thank you. Any other question? Don't hesitate on the chat till David is here. So, I'm switching to French. Donc, on vous remercie beaucoup pour votre participation à ce webinaire, ce premier d'une série. On va vous envoyer dans quelques heures un accès au replay, aux slides. N'hésitez pas à nous transmettre vos commentaires sur le contenu du webinaire, sur la qualité, on a utilisé Google Hangout pour ce premier, savoir si c'est satisfaisant, si ça fonctionne bien. Quelles sont vos attentes par rapport à d'autres webinaires? Quelles sont vos attentes par rapport à Jaunt? Et puis surtout, retrouvons-nous la semaine prochaine et la semaine suivante à Paris. Ce sera l'occasion d'avancer sur nos projets, de parler de Jaunt, mais aussi de parler des trophées, des awards sur lesquels je compte évidemment, ainsi que tous les participants sur votre participation active. Merci beaucoup, très bonne journée, à bientôt, au revoir.
Au revoir.
Merci David, thank you, bye.